Do you need a night vision capable dashcam in your car, and what dashcam to use? Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm Dimitri and this is Value Cars Australia, and welcome to another off-topic video where we are not reviewing cars, but we are talking about essential car electronics such as dash cams that a lot of us use these days in Australia and in other countries. And I think I don't need to sell you the idea of feeling safer, feeling a little more protected against any unpredictable circumstances on the road. Today I am featuring a product by a company that reached out to me very kindly, Lanmodo. Lanmodo offered this very lovely Vast M1 system, night vision system, night vision capable dash camera for review. Lanmodo has a lot of different products. It's an established brand, very respectable brand, and they have dash cameras that offer you both a camera for the front view and the back view, and then the Vast M1, at least the one that I've received for this review, it only offers you a vision forward, which is majority of cases anyway, and this is something that majority of the dash cams of other kind of manufacturers, they would offer us these days. So there is a detailed unboxing video, because I will tell you I was quite impressed with the quality and packaging and essentially how the brand Lanmodo, how they approached their packaging of their product and presentation of their product and additional things to it, inclusions and everything else. So if you are seriously considering a product like Lanmodo, I'll tell you straight away, please click through and watch that video, because it will be specifically dedicated to unboxing. And they officially give you 3 options of installing it. I have found a 4th way of installing this lovely camera, and it is also on my dash, but it is without that permanently fitted plastic placement plate, and this allows much easier mobility for this camera, movement, removing of it. If I, for example, was to change the vehicle to something else, I'd be able to place it differently. The only thing that I'll address straight away is that the power of this camera, the night vision capability, comes from a sensitive Sony sensor in this that is used. It's a CMOS 1.0 aperture sensor, Sony sensor. And as you can see here, I will be comparing videos from my old 70mm cheap camera that you can buy for about 70 Australian dollars versus this a lot more expensive camera, side by side, especially in the low light conditions. And you can see, and we'll talk about specifics in a minute, but you can see at the very least that evidently front and center on the screen for you, you can see just how much more light sources this a lot more sensitive Sony provided sensor in this dash cam is picking up. It's a night and day, no pun intended, honestly, night and day situation between the cheap camera and this Lanmodo Vast M1 camera. The camera itself, the eye of the camera, is detached from the housing of the screen that shows to you what's on the screen of the camera, obviously, which means that the placement is slightly more involved. It's not just a matter of putting a tiny cheap 70mm camera there on the windscreen that you barely can see from behind the rear view mirror, for example, in the camera. It also clearly, it's not just the placement, but it's also a lot more wires, simply because there are quite a few wires coming from this central screen there that I placed, where you can see everything on the screen, what the camera is recording currently. But also you need an extra wire, obviously, that connects the screen, the main element of the camera, of this system, not just the camera, to the camera itself, to the eye of it, yeah? And that eye also needs to be placed separately. You can see here on the screen how I found the way of fitting it in my Haval H6, but in any car, I suppose you would be looking at something similar. You would have some sort of out of the field of view of the driver placement of the screen so that it doesn't block your view, God forbid, and you would somehow run the wire connecting that screen element with the actual camera element around the periphery, around the A pillar of your vehicle, somewhere there. I could have done a much better job, obviously, with these wires, but I've simply used some sticky tape here and just sort of bare bones contraptions to simply prove the concept to myself before I commit to more permanent placement of this camera in my car, which, spoiler alert, I am going to be doing, but I'm going to be using a much better black sort of sticky tape that I'm going to buy at the local warehouse, kind of Bunnings or something, to make sure it's much better. But that's extra wires and extra real estate on this in your field of view. That's the only negative side effect. Now that we are looking closely at the comparison of 70mm, let's say, or any other cheap camera, of course there are plenty of cheap cameras, you can get them, but I look at this footage, right? Both day footage, we can compare them side by side, day footage of 70mm and day footage of Lanmodo Vast M1, and nighttime footage obviously from both cameras as well. And I can tell you that the difference is astounding. The difference is astounding. Like, it is a dash camera still. Lanmodo is a dash camera, so let's not pretend that this is something as high quality as you doing some nighttime footage with your iPhone 15. Like, no one pretends it to be that. However, when you look closely at the footage of these two cheap and expensive dash cameras, you can see the difference. You can see just how grainy the footage on the left is, and you can see just how relatively well-defined, feature-rich, filled with light, obviously, the footage on the right is from Lanmodo in this particular case. I can point out that I have even stopped in the dark, after dark, obviously, I can even stop in the dark areas of the street, kind of leading towards my place where I live. And I even safely, when there were no cars around, for a short period of time, I even turned off the headlights. That was the best I could do. I'm not in the middle of the forest to test the camera in complete pitch darkness, pitch blackness. But even this little test gave me confidence that if you are in law enforcement, if you are in security services, if you're an Uber driver who drives people in and out of nooks and crannies wherever they are, this thing somehow finds the sources of light and it shows to you what's happening on the road so clearly. The only side effect of having such a sensitive sensor, Sony sensor in this camera, in Lanmodo Vast M1, is that when there is a light source, such as a street light, such as the you know, any other lamps or any other kind of the lights from the cars and everything else, they are almost blinding. They are really dominant on the screen, and you can see it. Well, it comes with a price. Everything comes with a price. You want to see in the dark? Well, this thing certainly brings you as close as possible to seeing in the dark. That's pretty damn awesome, in my opinion, yeah? But at the same time, if there is an explicit light source, such as a street light, you will be a tiny bit blinded and it will dominate the area of the screen, might even be sort of whitening out, yeah, any other detail around that source of light. That is just a trade-off, unfortunately, of such a high sensitivity sensor. That's one thing that I noticed as well. But it wouldn't deter me from using this camera for my needs and securing the nighttime observation if I needed it on the day-to-day basis. I'm very impressed. What else can I say to you, my friends? The field of view, it claims the technicalities, the specifications say that it's a 75-degree frontal cone of view, which looks about right to me. It looks broader to me, but you tell me in the comments down below if it looks similar to my 270mm cheap dash cam that I used before. But it looks much wider, this field of view, which is great, again, for observational perspective. I also have to notice here that the screen of Lanmodo Vast M1 is not a touch screen. It is very nice. I think it's a good quality screen, yeah, but it is not copyright, yeah, which is built for different purposes, of course. And it has buttons. It has control buttons here on the periphery of the top, and you will find out more about that in the unboxing video if you would like to watch my unboxing video, very detailed, of how they work, those buttons and stuff. But essentially it's not a touch screen. So whenever you want to do something with that with the screen, yeah, for example, to format your new SIM card, or to turn on or turn off the recording of the sound, let's say, yeah, you would need to remember, and you have to always remember, because we expect touch screens to be everywhere. In this case, it asks you a question on the screen, but it expects you to click the button physically to say okay or next or whatever you want to do. So that is one thing, one extra thing I want to point out. It's not a negative, it's not a positive. I'd say these days we do expect touch screens, so that's probably where Lanmodo saved a little bit. But at the same time, does it bother me? Nah. Would it bother you? No. You only care about high quality footage and reliable recording. Needless to say, hopefully as well, that the camera comes also with the contraptions and wires that allow you to connect it directly to the power source of the car and enter a specific mode of parked monitoring. So it can continue running in a smart way, connected directly to the battery of your car. Just make sure that you don't leave it in that mode for too long so it doesn't drain battery too much, but overnight, completely fine, yeah. And it all is being spoken about in the detailed guide for Lanmodo. So it's possible to also leave it in this passive monitoring mode as well. Overall, my impressions, my friends, other than occupying extra real estate on my dash of the car, other than extra wires that you need to run and extra sticky tape or something that you need to apply to make sure that it all is nicely tucked in, other than the lack of touch screen and you having to click the buttons, so these things out of the way so that we don't shy away from them, me as a person who has been using a cheap, very cheap 70mm camera, dash cam before, I saw a massive quality difference with this short test of using Lanmodo Vast M1. Again, if you're a taxi driver, security person, police, I'm sure you're supplied with the standard cameras, but if you are somehow in a private type of security arrangement where you need to equip your own car or your own little team, if you are an Uber driver, very much so, like people who drive at night a lot, and people who therefore are exposed to a lot more traffic conditions, stupid people on the road, drunk people who you pick up from the pubs, people who cross the road right in front of you when you pick them up from the middle of the street and stuff like that. I think something like this, yes, it costs more upfront, but at the same time, you, I think, will get your money's worth if, God forbid, something bad happens and you need to provide actual details, you know, see actually clearly who came out of which bush in front of you when something happened, yeah, to very clearly see exactly what car overtook you when, and the number plate needs to be visible very, very clearly, that kind of stuff. I offered you a lot of overlaid footage to compare, very honestly, a very cheap camera with this Lanmodo camera. I'm super grateful to the sponsors for sending this camera to me, and please check the description of the video as always for any discount codes kindly provided to my community. I hope you enjoyed this little introduction to Lanmodo system. I'm not a professional dashcam reviewer, so perhaps I skipped some specifications that would have been of interest to you, but if you are that kind of person, first of all, talk to me in the comments down below, tell me specifically what you want me to highlight, and also do watch my specifically planned, currently dedicated unboxing video of this camera, where we will focus less on the performance of it and more on what's in the box and how it's assembled and how I put it together. Hope you've enjoyed this. Please do give the video a like if you did, and subscribe for more from me. I'll talk to you next time. Talk to you next week about something else, either car electronics related or car reviews related. Everyone is a winner. Goodbye for now. Thanks for tuning in.